A forbidden flame. Elena had always considered herself practical, level-headed, and deeply focused on her career as an interior designer. At 27, she had carved out a niche for herself in the bustling city, transforming mundane spaces into breathtaking works of art. Love, she thought, was something that could wait, a puzzle piece for a later chapter of her life. But that was before she met Damien. Damien Hart was the kind of man who made an impression without trying. In his early 40s, he exuded an effortless charm. He walked into Elena's studio one gray afternoon, accompanied by his wife, Melissa. They were looking to revamp their suburban home, an anniversary gift for Melissa, he had explained with a warm smile that seemed to radiate sincerity. Elena noticed the way Damien's hand lingered on Melissa's lower back as they spoke, the way he listened attentively to his wife's ideas about color palettes and layouts. He seemed, in every way, the perfect husband. Yet beneath his polished exterior, there was an intensity in his eyes that unsettled her. Over the next few weeks, Elena worked closely with the couple. Melissa was kind and gracious, always quick to express her gratitude for Elena's designs. But it was Damien who lingered in her mind long after the meetings ended. His gaze would often linger on Elena just a fraction too long, his compliments dipped in a warmth that felt personal. She tried to dismiss it as harmless, but her own feelings betrayed her. One evening, after a long day of consultations, Elena found herself working late at her studio. The city lights flickered outside the large windows, casting shadows on the walls. She barely heard the knock on the door. When she opened it, Damien stood there, holding a bottle of wine and a bag of takeout. "I figured you might not have had dinner yet," he said, his voice soft but deliberate. Elena hesitated. She knew this was a boundary she shouldn't cross, but she found herself stepping aside to let him in. They ate together in the quiet studio, surrounded by swatches of fabric and blueprints. Damien talked about his life, his work as a lawyer, his teenage daughter, and the pressures of balancing family and career. "I admire what you've built here," he said, gesturing to her workspace. "It's clear how much passion you pour into your work." The way he looked at her then, like she was the only person in the world, made her heart ache. She tried to remind herself of Melissa, of the life Damien had built with someone else. But her resolve faltered when he reached across the table and took her hand. "Elena," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "I don't know what it is about you, but you make me feel alive." Her breath caught in her throat. She wanted to pull her hand away, to tell him this was wrong, but she couldn't. In that moment, she felt a connection that was as undeniable as it was dangerous. The days that followed were a whirlwind of stolen moments and quiet confessions. They were careful, meeting in secluded cafes or taking long drives out of the city. Elena knew what they were doing was wrong. She knew she was playing with fire. But Damien's presence was intoxicating, and for the first time in her life, she felt truly seen. Still, guilt gnawed at her. Melissa's smiling face haunted her, a constant reminder of the line she had crossed. One evening, as Damien lay beside her in the dim light of her apartment, Elena turned to him. "Damien, we can't keep doing this," she said, her voice trembling. "This isn't fair to Melissa. It's not fair to me." He looked at her with a mixture of sorrow and longing. "I know," he admitted, "but what we have, it feels real. I don't want to lose you." Tears welled in her eyes. "You can't have both, Damien. You have to make a choice." Days turned into weeks, and Elena distanced herself from Damien. She threw herself into her work, trying to bury the pain. Damien called and texted, but she rarely responded. She had to let him go, for her own sake and for his family. Months later, Elena received a package at her studio. Inside was a letter and a small, intricately carved wooden box. The letter was from Damien. "Elena, I made my choice. I chose to honor my vows, to stay with my family. But please know that what we shared meant everything to me. This box is a symbol of the beauty and complexity of what we had. I hope it brings you peace. Damien." Elena ran her fingers over the box, her heart heavy yet relieved. She knew she had done the right thing, even if it had broken her heart. As she placed the box on a shelf, she realized that some stories, no matter how beautiful, are meant to end. And in their ending, there is a chance for new beginnings.